For those of you who don't know Kootenay Silver already, we're a junior explorer focused in Mexico on the discovery of silver deposits. And we've been very successful in doing that. In the last number of years, we've made 3 different discoveries with 43-101 reports on them. And as we get into it, there's going to be forward-looking statements, of course, so be aware of that. And so these 3 existing deposits and discoveries we've made give us one of the largest junior-owned silver resource bases in Mexico, and for a junior company in general on the Toronto Venture Exchange. This gives us a lot of leverage of the silver price, really great leverage of the silver price. You'll see that in our stock price. And then we are in the middle of our 4th discovery, which looks like the most important one, classic high-grade vein system with fantastic upside in the order of 100 million ounces and multiples of that. And we're actively drilling that now, and we're just wrapping up a 20,000 meter program. And this we're getting incredible high-grade results and excellent widths, and this all gives us a really good value for re-rating here, especially on the cusp of what we think is a really strong emerging silver bull market. Board and management quickly here, won't go into this too much. I'm a geologist. I've been in the junior sector since 1988. I've done a number of deals, one of which was the formation of what ultimately became Alamos Gold, and that was my introduction to Mexico, and how the potential there, which is incredible. Bottom line here is our board is populated with people with experience right from boot and hammer prospecting discovery to resource definition, feasibility, the mine building, and the mine operations, and financing every one of those steps. Capital structure here, just over 62 million shares issued and outstanding. A current market cap is just about 61 million Canadian. 52-week high and low, you can see there for yourselves. Average daily volume in the last 90 days has been about 200,000 shares, and that'll tick up to around 500,000 shares when the silver market in general is enjoying liquidity. So our cash position at the end of September was 7.25 million. We've been drilling right through and are still drilling now. And so current position is just shy of 3.5 million. Key shareholders, Eric Sprott, Condire, management directors. Institutions include some well-known resource funds, but also a lot of high net worth managed money in Switzerland. And we've had major mining companies invested us in the past because of the different discoveries. Coeur Mining because of our La Ciguera resource, Agnico Eagle because of our original discovery, Promontorio, Pan American for our second discovery at called the Negra, second discovery at Promontorio. These guys are not currently shareholders, but those investments are a testament to our discovery potential. Now, the existing resources already have 214 million ounces of M&I silver equivalent and another almost 55 million inferred silver equivalent in the Promontorio, the Negra, and La Ciguera properties. And we've updated all those resource reports within the last 15 to 18 months just to have those projects prepared to move ahead when we get into a bona fide bull run on the silver price. And La Ciguera and La Negra out of those projects start to look pretty darn interesting at mid-30s. But in the meanwhile, we're really focused on the Columba project, which is shown here in northern Chihuahua along the northern extent of the famous Sierra Madre trend, depicted in the red line, where many of the huge mining silver districts are in Mexico. In fact, our La Ciguera resource, which is over 60 million ounces, sits in the famous Parel district. The other resources are in Sonora on the left-hand side there, in southern Sonora state. And so all our recent news has been centered around this drilling at Columba, this brand new high-grade discovery. When we picked up the option here for 100%, this thing never been drilled. And we're just finishing a 20,000 meter program, which is part of an overall 50,000 meter program that we've designed, all aimed at culminating in a maiden resource. This was worked twice historically in the past, and 1900 to 1910, they put down a shaft 200 meters, 6 levels off it, shut down by the Mexican Revolution. But the old assays from that work is what attracted us to the property. The mine's flooded, so we couldn't even get in directly sampling, but we obviously went in and drilled it and confirmed those high-grade results that were reported, but also have found even better veins, like with highlight hits like 17 meters at 650 silver, 34 meters, half kilo, 6 meters at 2 kilos, just incredible. So well located, 3.5 hour drive to an international airport along the highway. This is basin and range country here. These yellow lines are the main structures, 4 kilometers in one direction, 3 kilometers in the other. This is an old caldera. You can kind of see the rim around here. And that inset picture is where the historic mining occurred on what we call the F vein. And that point is erosion low in the bottom of that basin. It barely exposes the veins where they become productive. When you go up the hills on either side of that caldera, you lose the vein. You can follow your structure, and the silver drops off to background, but that vein is still there at depth. So this thing has not really been eroded. It's pretty much entirely preserved from erosion. So whatever was laid down here originally is still here. And when you look at the scale of what we have, this is us on the right-hand side. Red dots are where we've done our drilling. Places without red dots haven't even been drilled yet. So at the same scale, these 3 projects, us on the right, in the middle is the Panuco discovery, over 300 million ounces now. On the left is the Las Chispas mine, just sold to Coeur. And I think they're at 140 million in the resource, something like 80 million in the reserve. Classic high-grade narrow veins there. And so that's one thing, just the scale of what we got gives us a shot at 100 million ounces or more. When you look at the drill highlights, well, that really drives it home. This one in the middle is the F vein, where you got 7.45 meters of 650 silver, consistent hits over 700 meters of length, down over 200 meters of depth, still wide open. Then the real principal vein we've been concentrating on this program is down here called the D vein, 34 meters a half kilo. There was almost 10 meters of 1,700 grams per ton there. Huge step out from that point over almost a kilometer away. And it hit over 104 meters of 198 silver and 12 meters half kilo with really high grades. And then these other areas up above here where you see the 6 meters of 2 kilos, really incredible results across the property. A lot of drilling in the F vein and the D vein now. D vein's still wide open. We haven't even found the edges as we're culminating this 20,000 meter program. So lots more drilling to do. The gray shaded area here are fractions we do not own, and everything else we do. So when we look at the long sections of the F and D vein, this is the historic vein with the shafts. We got consistent hits over 700 meters of length, over 200 meters of depth, still open at depth with grades over 700 grams. You see that whole 12 there in the middle. And then there's 2 other veins, at least beside this one, don't even come to surface, that have good grades into them and up to 2 meters of 2 kilos. And when we look at the D vein that's 500 meters or so to the south, this vein is one of those veins that we think can make the whole district work. These vein systems typically will have 1 or 2 key structures that make everything else work. We've tripled the strike length during this program from 400 meters to 1,200 meters. Still wide open depth. We've got over 250 meters defined already. We're getting lots of half kilo and multi-kilo stuff across this thing, and some really wide widths of medium grade, which will count big too. And so at the end of this program, we won't even have this drilled off at 100-meter centers, and we won't even have the edges defined and wide open to depth. So it's getting bigger every drill hole. So we've just culminating this 20,000 meter program now. We're going to continue drilling. There's going to be news coming out until on the 20,000 meters until middle third week of March. There's about a dozen holes still in the lab, and we're still drilling. And then we'll look at putting a maiden resource out, hopefully by the end of April, and continue drilling and growing that this season. And so I think we're just about run out of time now. We've got about 1 more minute. Very quickly, the La Ciguera resource, 51.5 million M&I and 11 million inferred. This is in a district where they've been mining for 500 years. To the south of us, 30 kilometers. That area, they're mining at a 2,000 meter depth. This deposit comes right to surface. That's an open pit constrained resource. Mid $30 silver starts to look really interesting. Huge upside here for exploration. We've just prepared it for when the market gets stronger. Same with the Promontorio project in Sonora. Same deal there. And we really like this La Negra in the more near term. I think a small operator would do really well there, potential high margins. And that's my bell to tell me 12 minutes is up. So we've just prepped this project like the other one to get moving when the silver market's more advanced. And that's rounds us out for questions now, Arlen.
Yeah, I think you're the first one that put on an alarm for your time. So awesome. Thanks, James. Yeah, I got questions. Can you pull up that slide where you look at some of the cuts from this Columba discovery?
You the plan map?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So while you were talking, I had to do some numbers. Like 650 grams per ton silver is like $600 rock. Am I right there? Ish. Like
it's
this
good.
isn't 43-101, right? But
So,
that's some very, very serious cuts over some big widths.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
super exciting.
something to keep in mind in Mexico and general rule of thumb for narrow veins, by that I mean 1.5, 2 meters veins. General rule of thumb for a cutoff in an operating mine is 180 grams.
Yeah.
So, and that cutoff goes down the wider the vein, of course.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
take a look at, just peruse these numbers, and you know why we're excited about this project.
Yeah, I'm certainly impressed by the widths.
Yeah.
Like those are big widths for
Yeah.
this type of structure, right?
Yeah.
How much cash are you sitting on right now? Like the last reported cash position?
The last reported was the third quarter, which is 7.27 million Canadian. Currently, we're at about 3.5 or just under that.
3.5 million. And what's your market cap right now?
It's only about 62 million Canadian.
62 million. Yeah. Did you talk through the shareholder base there a little bit more in detail? Because like, obviously you'll have to continue to raise capital, right? To drill up more resources. It's not rocket science. We need more money in exploration. Money is always a question for investors. So can we look at the cap table again? Because with the right people, that money becomes a little less challenging.
Well, our last raise was during this last 4 years, which was a really difficult market. We advanced that Columba project and raised the money to purchase 100% of it. That was helped significantly along the way by Research Capital, who led most of the financings in that period. And then the most recent financing was support with Red Cloud last April, which was at $1.12 and over a $10 million raise. So we're really well supported that way. And then key shareholders like Eric Sprott, funds like Condire to Texas, institutions which include high net worth manage money out of Switzerland. And we've got, you know, a long track record of relationships over there, been going over to Switzerland for over 20 years now. And so we got great capability of raising money. Our group put an open pit heap leach gold mine in production 8 years ago in Arizona, raised all the money for that. And so we've got a lot of depth in terms of technical expertise and capital markets.
Yeah. Can we, so what I'm most impressed about is in the last year and a half, Mexico has been very tough to raise capital on. And you've got what is considered to me a very tight share structure still. Like you didn't blow your cap table during all this. Can you talk about how sentiment's changed in Mexico since the new election?
Well, the sentiment has changed significantly for the positive. And so the last administration obviously was antagonistic towards the mining industry. And already we've seen tangible actions that are quite positive in Mexico. Things like allowing up to 56% of capital costs to be written off in the first year on operations. It's a huge thing. The president coming out and saying that we have to realize that we need open pit mining. We need it for our critical minerals. We need it for things as simple as gravel and limestone for cement. So that's a big turnaround from the last administration and how they spoke. Yeah. And other things that we hear are in process of change, and so some companies getting their mine permits that were taking a long time now have receiving mine permits. So, you know, actual actions and not just words. So a big very positive improvement. Very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I just seen so many of those deals get crushed to the point where they couldn't raise capital anymore, right? So good for you. That's a huge accomplishment, I think. One question here. Weaker Mexican peso versus US dollar, is that benefiting you, helping you in your export?
Yeah, it helps some. So our costs are broken down into wages and support costs, fuel costs, and you know, anything to support the camp and the operation and the offices we have there. Drill contracts are in USD, so it doesn't help there.
Okay.
And that's obviously a big expenditure while you're drilling. And so there's no advantage to that. So it's a mixed bag a little bit.
Okay. How often are you down at property or mine site?
I'm going in about a week's time, and I was there in when was I last there? In November.
Yeah. Okay.
So it just to when we have enough changes that warrant it to go down, and we have a staff. Most of our people have been working with us for over 15 years.
Yeah.
And Mexican, and so and a great, really great staff down there.
Awesome. I love Mexico. The people there are beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just amazing culture, amazing people, family. You go to the beaches and they're all there with their family. You just don't see that in North America these days. Yeah. James, thank you so much for your time. We're going to be moving on to our next presentation. That was a great story. I'm going to be following that extremely closely, and congratulations on that discovery. That's that one looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Arlen.
Yeah, thanks, James. Take care.
Yeah, bye.